more fun. I know that many of you are going back face to face, but you're still doing some virtual teaching. So hopefully we can share some ideas that will be good for face to face and virtual. Basically, how do we make learning fun? And I saw this quote and I really reflected on it. There's a lot of quotes that are inspirational, but this one really makes me think that success is not final. So we're not just here to be like, okay, I nailed that, I'm done. Now I don't have to keep working hard. I'm always a lifelong learner, right? Always wanting to learn. But if you fail, it's not fatal. You have a chance to fix that and you have a chance to redo that. And it's the courage to continue that counts. So I know that we're all struggling with the courage to continue sometimes based on this environment. It's not easy. I feel like I sit all day and stare at Zoom meetings and webinars, and it's really tough to be engaged. So I'm really hoping that you guys can be engaged with me today and that we learn that we are growing together. So our agenda is that we're going to talk about some general ideas, how to make learning fun in a classroom or virtually. And we need to remember that we get overwhelmed just like our students do. So we want to keep it simple. We really want to create routines, which is some of what we'll talk about today. And we want to build skills and add more tools over time. So some of the ideas today, we're not going to do every single thing. We're going to take a couple of ideas and slowly build them into our teaching so that we don't feel overwhelmed and our kids don't feel overwhelmed as well. The second thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about brain breaks, how to keep our day flowing and keep that energy up. And I was lucky enough to get to observe a student teacher the other day who was doing some pretty cool brain breaks. So I'm hoping to hear from you on some ways that you have been supporting your students on brain breaks. And then I'm going to give you some academic resources to add to your teaching, maybe some ideas you already use. And some of that is very reinforcing to say, okay, I already know this one, I'm already using it, but I'm going to pull one or two new ideas and really try to improve my teaching. So I gave you a little introduction to me already, but I want you to think for a minute about yourself. So I am very reflective. So I'm always thinking about how I can be a better person, how I can be a better professor, how I can be a better teacher. I'm very, very passionate about what I do. I'm very eager about my new projects. I am a little nuts. I'm a little crazy because I've got this crazy energy and I'm always like, oh, we could do that. Let's try it. It's a little crazy sometimes. I'm very caring. I care a lot about all of you and I want you to have an amazing experience in our program. I'm always trying. I really want us to be the best we can be, but I'm still a little bit in shock that we're here, that I have to talk to you this way instead of getting to hang out with you face to face in a classroom. That would have been really fun. So right now, just for like 30 seconds, why don't you think about a few words that pop into your head that describe you as a person, as a teacher, and how you want to move forward in this challenging time. So we'll just take just a couple seconds and think about that. And then as you think of those characteristics that describe you, I want you to possibly add on one or two things as we go along in something that you want to improve on. So a way that you're going to improve your teaching, maybe something that you want to be a little more organized. Maybe you want to be a little more reflective. Maybe you want to sit and say, okay, I really need to go back and look at how I can better support that student. So let's be lifelong learners today and help each other learn and grow and make this a fun afternoon. So a couple of ideas. So how many of you are creating a theme for the day? So every Monday could be Music Monday. So every single Monday, the students get to share their favorite song, they get to sing a song, they get to share an academic learning song, or just play music for older kids. There's a couple of websites that I've shared that have some great songs that are sing-alongs for littler kids or some great educational songs. I'm sure you've looked on YouTube or TeacherTube. You can pull almost anything up. And that is a really great way to start the day, especially if you're virtual. I had a person that I was working with in a district, not one of my student teachers, but they were just having students just chill and not really have an idea or a theme of what they were doing. So That's kind of where I want to go, is if we can kind of make each day like, so the kids get excited about coming to school, even if they're sitting at their kitchen table, like many of us are right now. What about terrific Tuesdays and Thursdays? They get to share something terrific about their day, their family, their pet, something they love to do, their favorite hobby. So they get to share with everyone. So they get to know that Mondays are Music Mondays, Tuesdays are Terrific Tuesdays, Wednesdays can be Wacky Wednesdays, or even Fun Fridays. What are you doing to make the day really fun? So they're looking forward to coming to school on that day, whether it's virtual or face to face. So some ideas of Wacky Wednesdays or Fun Fridays would be wearing school colors or wear a specific color. What about their favorite hat? What about favorite sports team gear or crazy hair day? Or having virtual breakfast or lunch tables so that everybody's sitting together having their lunch. I know teachers need breaks. There's no question about that. But we are teaching sometimes fewer hours than we would normally if we were face to face. I know it depends on your scenario, but it would be really great to give students an opportunity to sit together and eat lunch and just talk casually. What about having a dance party for a break or pet show and tell? That's really funny when I've been on webinars and I see somebody's little dog behind them, or my dog crawled up behind me on the couch one time and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing, but it's kind of fun and it keeps people engaged. Um, what about for littler kids, a favorite toy show and tell, or older kids, a favorite picture show and tell? So they're sharing something about their lives or their family or their friends. What about allowing students to have a joke of the day? So each person can trade off bringing together a funny joke. That's something to look forward to. What about having a role model for each day? So they're learning about famous people. This is easy to Google. And these are people that may have achieved some really cool goals or who are running a cool charitable organization. So Mia Hamm, I would looked up a bunch of different people and I saw that she runs a charity to help people with blood diseases because that hit close to home in her life with a family member. And so that was kind of interesting that you could focus on somebody that has a really cool talent or skill, but they're also doing some neat things for the world and being good citizens. What about having a class leader of the day? Or what about talking about making a difference in your family or community this weekend? And how can you make a difference? How could you get along better with a sibling? How could you help out a parent or a grandparent this week? And have them think about being a good citizen and how they can help out with people around them. What ideas do you all have for themes like Wacky Wednesdays or Fun Fridays? What are some things that you've seen in the classrooms that you work in? I would love to hear some ideas. Anyone want to unmute themselves and share with us? I saw one of my student teachers the other day reading a pirate story, and she dressed up with the black patch on her eye, and she had, like a pirate shirt, and her hair had a bandana, and she read this whole story with a pirate accent. I mean, she really had to practice that. And that was really fun. And she said she's really trying to do some different ideas like that to really engage the students. So when she reads stories on certain days, she really makes an effort to get them engaged and excited about that story. Does anyone have anything to share? I know there's some cool things going on. What have you been seeing? What have you observed before now?
You kind of took a lot of the ones that we've done at our school, but one thing that I do for, especially for math, uh, we do like the Nearpod lessons, and then on Friday we do like a time to climb, and so we'll put, I'll put like questions that we've talked about and things that we've learned throughout the week, and then there's a Halloween theme time to climb on Nearpod right now, so the students get to choose their character and their mask, and it's really engaging and they love it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. Anything to get them engaged, right? because it's hard. Even for all of us sitting right here, it's a drag. We can't be together. Normally we could do a turn and talk and we would all be sharing ideas or talking about a way that one of these ideas worked really well. So it's hard for our students, you know. Did I hear somebody say something? Sorry. Does anyone else want to share? Okay.
Hi, I was going to share something. I had to walk away to see the source. So I was just in a class the other day. I'm not student teaching right now, but I was in a special ed class and they did kind of choose on that date. There's only 15 students total and it was someone's birthday. So to make it special, at least a part of the day where I was substituting, the teacher had to go to an IEP meeting. It was all about like what she wanted. Like she got to be, I guess you could say like teacher for the day, but it was more like she got to pick the activity she wanted to do. And she wanted to see The Nightmare Before Christmas. So they were getting to watch that during lunchtime. And then after lunchtime, the teachers said, we're going to do art. And so she got to choose what they were going to draw. And so we did Art for Kids Hub. And I just have to say, the guy who leads that was amazing. So you could make a note, Art for Kids Hub. And it was on YouTube. She was picking characters from Nightmare Before Christmas to draw. And I have a math background, so I really love the fact that as he was teaching us to draw these characters, he was like, put the circle in the middle of your page. So he gave lots of directions to follow. And sometimes we don't think that art can have that crossover, but the students were following the directions that he gave for drawing. They could also see what he was modeling on the screen. And there was still like shape identification of like, make an oval, now make a wavy line. And so, and they were super proud to show their drawing. So here's one of mine. I'll just show, like, that's my Sally. She's kind of light in pencil.
Oh yeah.
So it was at least, I think, cool, because I think sometimes when we're writing objectives, we don't think about how art can have a tie into other subjects. But the kids were really motivated to do the drawing, and I know they were following directions, and so there were other skills that were maybe getting captured within what seemed like just a fun extra thing to do because it was someone's birthday.
I love it. Thank you, Betsy. That's a great thing to share. Thank you so much.
And I enjoy drawing.
That's great. I don't. So I would need the guy to help me tell me exactly where to put the circle. That's great. That's so great. And that's also following 1 and 2-step directions. And a lot of our kids really need that extra support. So thank you so much. So another idea that would be a great one, it's not too late to start, is to think about a theme for the week. I mean, or even just one for the year. And I put stars by the ones I really love, but there are almost enough themes for every week of the school year. But I absolutely love these, and it would be something to talk about at the beginning of each day with your students, is including everyone, being respectful. I love the making a difference. Like, what does that really mean? And really helping students to see that they matter in this world, and that they really can make great change, helping others, going above and beyond, improving our world, acting with courage, showing compassion, be a leader, walk in someone else's shoes. Here's a whole bunch of ideas. Be unique, do the right thing, be a friend to everyone, be responsible, seize the day. I loved seize the day, but I felt like I was starring too many of them. Have a dream, listen to others, be honest, share your time. We before me, that's my son's college baseball team. They do everything as we before me, and that's their theme for the whole year. And it's so interesting how college men who are playing baseball, how they've taken that and they do a book club about it. And this coach is just all about that. It's so cool to see that theme play out. Believe, try something new, think before acting, have an open mind, do something you love, make someone's day, think positive thoughts, do your best, don't give up, forgive others, or achieve a goal. So here's a bunch of ideas that if you wanted to pick a theme, this could be like a 5-minute little activity. And I think it brings a lot of meaning And one of the sad things is we all know that a lot of parents aren't focusing on these things because they have a lot on their plates right now. And maybe they wouldn't anyway because they don't have that kind of thought process or the training or whatever it is. But these are really easy ways that we're developing good citizens in our world and helping them to be most inclusive. Um, okay, some other ideas would be a virtual talk show. So pairs trade off and they can be the interviewer and the interviewee, and they take the role of a character. So this can be prepared in a breakout room. Although I've heard lately that there are some issues with breakout rooms depending on the ages of the kids. But my idea with using breakout rooms in a perfect world would be that it's less stressful to be when I'm just talking to one of you versus if I'm talking to all 18 of you at the same time, if I have to share an idea that I'm not 100% sure about. So the other thing would be is if you have students work with a pair and then they get to share their ideas with another pair and they are able to actually do their little interview with this particular character from a story, and they can support each other. So that's kind of a fun way to get involved in a story and to actively learn and make that story a little bit more fun. What about having kids come to class, and this can be a little homework assignment, with 2 truths and a lie. So this is going to show their comprehension or their understanding of a story, that they would have 2 truths and a lie about a character or the plot of a story or a historical figure or event or a math or science concept or even just something fun, personal information. I actually was on a hijacked airplane when I was 10 years old. So I love to play this game because I'm going to stump every one of you, except now I told you guys one of my truths and you would think it was a lie. So now it won't work, but I'm just teasing. That's my personal truth. So people have some very unique things, and it's kind of a fun way for the kids to look forward to maybe getting to know each other, or maybe even trying to stump somebody about their knowledge about a character in a story they just read. And again, this can be shared with just a partner or in a small group to make it a little bit less stressful. You can tell that I'm concerned about doing whole class things because I was always really stressed as a kid to be called on just myself, and it, especially without the think, pair, share type time. So if the teacher just poses a question, barely gives any think time, and then just called on me, it just, that processing and that initial, like, I have to respond was so stressful for me. And I was always a really strong student, but it really created a lot of anxiety. And teachers that did that to me, I didn't want to go to their classes, even if it was an area that I liked or, a subject that I enjoyed or was good at. I hated to go to those classes. And I actually am finding that now with my high schooler, although things have gotten a little bit better, but the math teacher just goes around the Zoom, and if she knows where she is, her name is Brooke. And so she's at the beginning of the alphabet with the B. And the teacher goes around and asks her for her answer. And she's not able to look ahead at what other people are answering because she's so focused on, she's like number 4 or 5 and making sure that she has whatever the answer is to number 4 or 5 correct. So it's actually not a good learning way. So if we can come up with some fun ideas like this virtual talk show or 2 truths and a lie, it sort of solidifies their knowledge base about some different things, and they're able to share with a partner before they would have to share with like an entire class. Same thing, here's another idea, true or false. So students can even create some questions about a story or about a piece in history and see if their partner is able to say if that's true or false. And this is a lot less intimidating when it's just one person or just in a small group. And or they can do it even in a whole class. They can discuss different facts about a story, and then they can stand up or sit down and or use thumbs up or thumbs down, or obviously use the emojis on the different platforms that you might be using with virtual learning. But it's a great way to quickly get them involved and have them think. But again, I don't like to make the classroom environment anything that's anxiety ridden. And so I'm really careful about just calling out on students. It's the very first thing my kids always told me when they came out of school. Oh, I got called on and I didn't know the answer. And it kind of ruins your whole day. I don't know if any of you are sensitive to that, or if my family is just exceptionally sensitive. But when I was teaching, and even now, teaching at the college level, I'm still really careful about that. Does anybody have any comments about that? I'm just curious if anyone agrees or if it's just not that big of a deal. So I'm going to take that you're agreeing with me by not commenting. I'm kidding. Okay, so here are a couple websites for some true or false games or questions that you can access. So I put those on there, just trying to give you some different sites of some quick lookups. Maybe while you're watching the World Series tonight, you can look up a couple of these ideas. Here are some questions for our English learners that have true or false questions. What about a would you rather debate? So students can create the questions for themselves as part of a little homework piece and ask a partner, or there are lots of questions that can be pulled off of Pinterest. There's also Mantelligence website. I don't know if you've seen some of these sites that has random questions such as, would you rather give up breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Would you rather sit all day or stand all day? Would you rather be an awesome musician or know every language? Would you rather live in a rainforest or in a desert? Would you rather live in the roaring 20s or the fabulous 50s? So these are just some that are just totally random, obviously, but it might be a fun way to get your class started and come up with one for every day. And the kids kind of look forward to like, would I rather do that? It's kind of something fun and it gets them pulled right into class. Of course, it could be related to a subject if you wanted it to. Okay, Flipgrid. I'm sure many of you know Flipgrid, but it allows students to respond to one another based on a question that you ask your students. And it can also be used for student introductions and replies as well. We use some of this in classes sometimes at Cal State Fullerton. I think it can be a little bit unwieldy sometimes, so I don't use it a ton, but I have used it. And it's just one more way to get people to interact with one another. What about some vocabulary charades? So students record a video acting out a vocabulary word and other students guess the word. And here are some websites that you can use for vocabulary charades that are pretty quick and easy. So you don't have a lot of planning to do. And students can also act out key points from a lesson. You might have a story or a historical piece where they can plan with a partner and act out a part or two. And it really does get them actively involved in the learning, and it makes it a little bit more fun, which is the point of everything we're talking about today, is how do we make our learning a little bit more fun? What about who wants to be a millionaire? So students create questions in groups for the other groups, and then they can become more difficult as the time goes on. And it's a great way to practice before a quiz or a test. And it's getting the students involved in the learning, right? They get to come and they get to create these questions and figure out which ones are the harder ones and try to stump each other. But because they're in small groups, they're supporting one another if there's something that they didn't know. Another thing, and I actually do this in my college classes a lot, is having students set goals. So this year, this is what I really want to focus on. And they're going to set a goal, and it could even be something personal, like in their family, making a difference that we talked about earlier. And this goal can be focused on, and students can maybe do a little writing or sharing with each other once a week or every other week. And then the prizes can be given for those who complete their goals. This is a really, really great way of focusing students on academic goals as well as personal goals. Maybe that weekly theme or that daily theme that we talked about at the beginning with all those different ideas, that they can really think about how they want to make a difference or whatever that theme might be. And then there are a bunch of different, I'm sure you guys know about a lot of different ways to have kids quiz themselves and check out ways to assess their learning. And so here are a couple of websites. Quizzes, you have to subscribe to that, but you can get a pretty lengthy free subscription and Quizlet. And making those quizzes is a really great way to study, because even having to plug the information in helps the students to learn it. And it's a lot more fun than just having to go through a regular study guide. And then what about at the end of each day is have them share one emoji, or have them share it with a friend that describes how they're feeling at the end of that lesson. And then they can share why they came up with that emoji, like whatever's going on in their minds. And then maybe ask one question about the lesson. And then here are a couple of, someone just mentioned Nearpod, also Edpuzzle. There's a lot of different websites on how to create fun lessons. And remember, at the beginning, we said, keep it simple. So don't feel like you need to take every single idea. I know you're already doing a lot, but maybe think about one thing that we talked about today that you can implement next week. And that would make learning a little bit more fun for the students. And then just start to implement here and there some simple strategies and some things for your students. So what are some other things that you would like to share with our group about keeping our day fun and interactive? And I know that if we were in our workshop, you would share with a partner and you'd be able to come up with like 10 ideas to share, but it's a little bit awkward here with everybody just being silent. But maybe if you could share something you've seen your master teacher do, or in an observation, or something fun you've done teaching or in a daycare setting, or whatever your experiences have been. What have you done to make learning fun for kids?
Hi, this is Donnell. I'm sorry I came late. I had an IEP, but one thing for my students, that we just work really hard and then we get to have a song, and then we work and then we have a song, and then we work and we have a song, and the kids love it. So that's what works for me.
Awesome. Donnell, remind me what you teach again.
I'm a structured autism teacher, mod severe, for grades 3 through 5.
Awesome. Thank you so much for letting us know. And we're glad you're here, even though we get it. It's hard to get here when you guys have had long days. I'm grateful for the amount of people that are even on, you know.
We just have so many IEPs with the mask wearing and the exemptions and the, stuff like that. So
Oh my
that's
God.
where I was. Sorry, I didn't mean to come late.
No, it's cool. We're glad you're here. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a great idea. So they work for the song.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't know. That's the most engaging thing I've found for them so far.
Awesome.
So
That's
thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Maybe I should look at the chat here. I haven't been looking at it at all.
Something new that I've just recently, it was new to me, boom cards. And what it is for the slideshow that the teacher presents, within the slides, the deck of cards, she has, it's interactive games that are offered through boom cards. So I was just introduced to it and I signed up for it, and I hope to get more familiar with it. So I wanted to pass it on to everyone in case you hadn't heard about it.
Thank you so much. How much does that cost?
So far it's free for me, but she said $12 a year.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Yes.
Okay.
So she said it's worth it.
Yeah.
For those boom cards, yeah, they offer a lot of free ones too. So, and it keeps changing which ones are free and stuff. So if you save it, you're good to go, the free. I've been able to do it for free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. She did say so far she's okay with the free, because since we have preschool, a lot of it's brand new for them, a lot of the interactive.
Awesome.
And of course there's Go Noodle. Every kid loves to work to be the one to pick the Go Noodle exercise or song.
Uh-huh.
That's still popular.
That's great. I mean, it doesn't matter how old something is or how long, you know what I mean? As long as we're making it fun and we're making sure that we're getting them on. One of the biggest issues right now is that the students, we have a lot of absentees. A lot of people are not able to get on, or they just aren't doing it. And so I was hearing from a group of teachers yesterday that they feel like their attendance is down by 1/3 in their classrooms. And that's just egregious. I mean, we've got to get our kids on. Of course, it's not all our faults for not being fun or whatever, but maybe the more fun we make it, or the more engaging we are, the more caring we are, the more reflective we are, we can get our kids on and try to really, so they'll stick with us. What are some other ideas?
One that we've used, I'm Vladimir. I'm currently student teaching in Santa Ana at Washington Elementary. Go Patriots. Unless it's the NFL Patriots, then no. Sorry. So I've also been working in an after school program for like over 12 years. So when the pandemic shut everything down, we took us about a month to collect our thoughts and offer virtual programming for our kids. One that we used was virtual field trips. The really fun ones that we discovered is if you go like on YouTube, you'll find that some people have filmed a lot of the rides at Disneyland from a point of view of like if you're in the actual cart. So what we'll do is we'll act really excited, like we're really on the ride, and encourage the kids to throw their hands up, scream a little bit, and it's like a fun little 3 to 4 minute break, and the kids really get into it the more you get into it. So it's something fun, simple, and free.
That's cool. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Vladimir. I appreciate you sharing. Anything to keep them on with us, What other ideas do you have? Maybe another minute of some ideas.
There's also one more that I recently saw in a training I had. It's like there's a web-based bingo card maker. And you share the link with your kids and you control all of it. You pre-make the bingo subject or whatever. It could be about anything. You could even use like math facts or whatever you want to do. And anybody you send that link to can access it. And it'll randomly generate a bingo card for that kid. And then you can just, from yours, since you'll have like the controlling account, you start pulling the bingo cards. And so the kids can interactively still play bingo. So that's kind of like a little taste of, some normalcy for them.
I love it. That's great. Is that one free too?
I believe so. Yeah, I'll try to get the link to it, and I'll email it out to you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. That would be so fun. And then it's academic, but they're having a blast doing it. So that's great. I think our excitement for what we're teaching matters a lot. So the more passionate and the more we're like, you guys cannot miss this. Today we are going to have so much fun. This is what we're going to do. Stay with me, And the more excited we can be about being here, even though we're all like, oh my gosh, this is so difficult, right? This is so challenging. I've got to manage so much, and this is just so weird and different. But the more excited that we can be, and the more we can pull them in and care and all of these fun ideas, I mean, it matters. I really think it does. So a couple more ideas or one more idea, and then we'll kind of move on to our brain breaks. Anyone else? I know there's a lot of cool stuff going on out there. Okay, let's talk about some creative brain breaks. And I think these are really, really important. Are any of you guys suffering with what I am, which is on webinars and meetings all day long, and I'm just sitting, and I realize I need brain breaks. I need to stand up and walk around, and it's kind of awkward if you have your camera off for some of these meetings. I'm really in the vote now of not having my camera on, because it helps me if I need to have a break where I stand up and just kind of need to move a little bit. It's okay, right? So that's a hard thing, but let's talk about some ideas. I know many of you use Jamboard. I love Jamboard to doodle and talk together. So if you're not familiar with that, that's a great tool. I saw on YouTube today that they have some different tutorials on how to use it. It's really easy. I already mentioned enjoying breakfast or lunch together is having kids say, hey, who wants to log on a little early and we can eat together? And that'll, maybe encourage them too, to make sure they're eating and having some food throughout the day. What about practicing focus ball breathing? So you can have your students stand and they make a pretend ball with their fingers. And so it's like, they make a round ball. They just put their hands together and they push gently on their fingers. They close their eyes. They breathe in and out slowly, and they flatten the ball, and then they make the ball round again. Silly things like that, but it gets them up, it gets them moving, it gets them focused. It might refocus their attention as well. What about stretching together? I watched one of my student teachers the other day get the kids up. They were 6th graders and everybody was stretching together. But, you know, even making a Simon Says or Dr. Pierson says this or whatever, and having them follow those directions and just getting up and having a quick minute to breathe, you know? What about having them practice and seeing if they can do the ear, nose switcheroo? So I'm going to try this, and maybe you want to try it with me, is touching their left ear with their right hand, and then at the same time, touching their left hand to their nose. Okay, I got that. And now I have to switch, right? I'm not sure if I can do it. So, you know, things like that. There's all these kinds of like funny little movement type things that you can Google and find. But here's just some ideas to kind of make them think, and it gets them off for a minute of the academics so that they can have a break. What about energizing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? So you have 5 actions that they need to do quickly, such as 5 jumping jacks, 4 push-ups, 3 sit-ups, 2 squat jumps, 1 tree pose, or 5 claps, 4 jumps, 3 waves, 2 stand on each foot, 1 reach to the sky. Or have a student think of 5 activities and lead the brain break. So obviously you could assign a student who wants to do that, who wants to be a leader for the next day's brain break, and have say, what are we going to do in our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity today? What about facial gymnastics? So let them get silly and have them wiggle their eyebrows or raise one eyebrow at a time. I don't know if everybody can do that. I think I had to practice doing that. That's something that they can focus on. It's a little bit fun, a little bit of a distraction. Smile or frown or wink with different eyes, make a funny face or cross their eyes or do something kind of funny just to keep them moving and a little bit of a distraction from the academics at that minute. So what about opening your chest? So having them, this is kind of a stretching activity. So they put their hands behind you and you touch the middle of your back and you push your shoulders up. Oh, I'm doing it right now and it feels very good. Push shoulders up and down and repeat slowly and quickly. And it kind of just gives them a little bit of a stretch, something to do. What about just taking a 3-minute doodle break? So not even a bathroom break, but just have them say, hey, we're going to take 3 minutes. You can just doodle on your paper or on Jamboard or however it's comfortable for you, but they can just take a little break for a minute. There's some different clapping patterns online that I put there that are kind of fun. So students can follow different clapping patterns. That's a fun idea to do. What about teaching them a dance? There's so many different, you know, wedding type dances that maybe they don't know because no one's going to weddings right now. So that would be something fun as well. What about even having them play rock, paper, scissors in pairs and they're in their little breakout rooms doing that? What about having them push against a wall? So they're just relaxing and then pushing and then relaxing and then pushing. And what about doing a cat pose, a little bit of that yoga move where they really can kind of stretch their backs and they can stretch out their arms. And I think that really is a good little break and it just takes a quick minute. A 3, 2, 1 blast off. So all together, we're going to count 3, 2, 1, and they blast off. So at 1, they're going to shoot up like a rocket. So that's really good for littler kids. But it gets them kind of moving around and kind of gets them up. What about having them share a random object? They get to trade off and have different things they're going to share with each other. I wouldn't do everybody, or I would have them do it in pairs so it doesn't get boring. But it's kind of fun to share something random at your house that you want to show your friends. That's kind of a little break without taking too much time at all. What about find it fast? So teachers call out a color or a trait, such as something round, something made of wood, something that's blue. Students can quickly find an object that fits the description and run around the house and then maybe have some prizes or teachers record who's able to find that item the quickest. What about having them do a physical challenge, such as standing on 1 foot and the winner who lasts the longest gets a prize, or some different physical challenges that would get them up and moving a little bit. And then math multiples, students jump when counting by 2s, 5s, or 10s. Or what's in the bag. So you have something in a bag and you're letting them guess. They can take 20 guesses to determine what the item is. So it might be, is it blue? Is it furry? Can you eat it? And they're coming up with questions. It's getting them involved and they're feeling more and more and more comfortable talking on screen or just kind of to the great beyond of where we all are. What about a scavenger hunt around the house? So they get to go find some common household objects and win some extra points. What about gimme 5? So they get to share with a partner or in a small group 5 things they know now from the lesson. So what are those 5 best learnings of the day or from that unit or that lesson? What about 5 things that you saw other people do well today in class? Or what about 5 things you have questions on or things you want to improve on? So why don't we share some other brain breaks that you have used?
The simple one that my master teacher uses is just, I think, just being observant of your class and kind of realizing that, you know, as the week prolongs, sometimes they get a little squiggly, and sometimes she'll realize it and just kind of pause the lesson and be like, all right, 1 minute wiggle break or 1 minute dance break, and you know, we'll play a song real quick just to get the wiggles out, and then we resume the lesson. I think sometimes it doesn't have to be that long. You just have to notice when your kids just need a break.
Yes. Do you notice when you do a brain break, I'm just curious, do you feel like when the kids have a brain break that they come back and they're a little bit more engaged? Or like if they have a brain break where they're doing a little bit of talking or they're able to share something with a partner, are they more engaged in the lesson?
I feel like they are. I feel like they're more intentional in responding. It's
Yeah.
not just responding because I think everybody who's dealt with virtual learning right now, responding just to talk, where they're actually trying to contribute and move the lesson along because they're a little more engaged.
Mm-hmm. It seems like I watched, I'm working with the district and I watched a teacher from the very beginning turn on the computer and I logged into the Zoom and the teacher had 0 energy and the teacher was just asking questions. Nobody responded, nobody. And it was just like silence. And then the person had the student stand up and do a little stretching and a little bit like, you know, activity, like movement a little bit. And then everybody sat down and then it seemed like they were a little bit more willing because they got up and it kind of eased the, I don't know if not stress, but the awkwardness maybe of just being like this, like we are right now, me just sitting here talking into a computer, you know, I don't know. I want to find ways to get our kids as involved as we can and maybe having them get up and the teacher realizes, okay, I'm losing them. I need to do something a little bit different. To have that awareness and that reflection, I think it really matters. And then maybe we're able to get them a little more engaged. Other ideas? I appreciate that, Vladimir. Anyone else want to share a cool brain break?
This isn't a brain break, but it's just something that I've noticed my master teacher's done is her workspace is set up behind her. She has like a bulletin board, like if it were a classroom, and we were inspired by one of our students who has a very well themed out board behind her. So we've been theming it to right now, you know, since we're in like Halloween season, it's very spooky. And, you know, she wears like funny hats and stuff just to kind of get the kids, give them some sense of normalcy. Like if we were in school, that's what our classroom would look like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think things like that.
Yeah, agreed. That's great. Thank you so much. Any other ideas? I hope you'll take one or two of these brain breaks. If you're not doing any of these, or if you have one to share, I'd love to hear it. But I hope that maybe next week or before the end of this week, you'll take 1 or 2 of these and try them and see if you think it gets your students more actively involved after you've done the brain break. So let's move on. We only have a couple of minutes. I know Dr. Rao needs to have you do the survey and then share what's up and coming. So quickly, to go through some additional resources that you can add to your teaching environment. Of course, you know, there's some awesome Google resources. There's also random word generator. And I love this if you're trying to teach a specific word or type of speech or letters or numbers. This really gives the kids an opportunity to practice. Education.com, I know you all know this. This is like standard, but I love it. It's by grade, it's by subject, it gives you standards, and there's a lot of active learning activities for kids. You don't have to do as much planning. You can definitely cheat. Teaching is about begging, borrowing, and stealing, right? Supporting each other. Shepherd software is really great for early childhood. And also they have different things as they go up into the different subjects area. There's a ton there. So I encourage you, maybe tonight, if you're watching the World Series, don't let this go, but check out some of these cool opportunities. There's some free online games that are really cool that maybe that's a good brain break to have them take a minute and play a quick spelling game, vocabulary game, or creating as many words as they can. Also, I love this Google site, Arts and Culture. I don't know if any of you have been on that, but it's amazing. If you haven't been on it, you need to go look. This is also a great place to do a virtual field trip. It's just completely amazing. Lots of historical events, historical figures, artists. It's so interesting. I spent a lot of time looking through this when I was working with the district and just really loved helping plan with all of these resources there. Obviously, pbskids.com, you know about that already. The PBS Learning these are so strong. EdSource, you know about, EduProtocols. But if you're on Facebook, a really cool one that is by a Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District teacher, she's at Van Buren. She has started this site called Empower Adventure. And every single day, teachers are sharing ideas. And if you're on Facebook, I totally encourage you to add her. There are teachers from all over the United States now, and I think even internationally. And people are sharing ideas daily. And it's real easy because, of course, it's free and you can just click on the ideas. And like almost every day, it's like an inbox filled with ideas, not to overwhelm you because we want to keep things simple. We want to build our routines, but it's really a great way to get ideas and share ideas and also ask questions of others. So if you needed that extra support, that's a great place to go. So we have just a couple minutes. Are there any other websites that you would like to share? I know there's millions, but these are some that I've used. Some are a little old school, some are new school, and they are all really effective. Does anyone have one they want to share? Okay, I want to thank you guys so much for being on. I hope you found a couple of good ideas that you can use right away or a good website that you might want to check out. And I encourage you to email me. I love to hear from our students. So if you have any questions for me or want to share an idea, I would love to hear from you. And I'll pass it right back over to Dr. Rao. Thank